In this video, I would like to just further clarify and expand upon the section of the sequence of tenses pluperfect dependent clause. Now, it's very easy to get stuck into the jargon and the grammatical explanations and everything, but let me show you the examples and explain why we say things the way we say. Okay, for example, using indicative versus subjunctive in the dependent clause, meaning the second half of the sentence, it all depends on the trigger in the first part of the sentence. Okay, let's take a look at these examples. Here's the use of indicative, meaning no subjunctive. Amalia sabía que sus padres le habían comprado una motocicleta. All right, that's misspelled. Okay, so Amalia knew, so there's no indication of subjunctive here. She knew it, so it's a statement of truth. Sabía is also in the past tense. So the subjunctive that's going to be used in the second half of the sentence has to be in the past or imperfect subjunctive. Amalia sabía que sus padres le habían comprado una motocicleta. Okay, so Amalia knew that her parents had bought her a motorcycle. Okay, so there's no indication, there's no trigger of subjunctive. We just use the simple past perfect or pluperfect. Now, what about subjunctive? Well, in order to have subjunctive, you need to have a trigger. Fue impresionante. It was impressive. Okay, that's an expression of emotion, expression of excitement. So that will trigger the subjunctive. And since fue is past tense, it's the preterite, it's going to cause past subjunctive. Now here we're going to use past perfect subjunctive because that's what the situation dictates. Fue impresionante que hubieras comprado tantos dulces para Halloween. It was impressive that you had bought so much candy for Halloween. Okay, so here are some examples with adjective clauses. Indicative, meaning no subjunctive. Encontramos un carro que había estado en oferta mucho tiempo. We found a car that had been on sale for a long time. So there's no indication of subjunctive because there's no trigger. We found a car. That car existed. And so everything we say about it must be in the indicative. And here it's just past perfect. Had been on sale. So había estado. But how about subjunctive? Well, the first part of this sentence is an expression that's going to cause the subjunctive to happen. No nos sorprendió que el paquete de tour hubiera incluido las propinas. It didn't surprise us. Okay, so this is an example of something that may or may not be, okay, that causes the subjunctive here. It didn't surprise us that the tour package had included the tips. Okay, so here you've got had included, and because no nos sorprendió is a trigger of subjunctive, then you're going to use the past perfect subjunctive. Adverb clauses, indicative. Octavio recibió otra llamada apenas habías llamado. Octavio received another call as soon as you had called. Okay, so there's no indication of subjunctive because there's no trigger. He received another call. That's a statement of fact. As soon as you had called, well, you called. So there's no indication of subjunctive. But let's take a look at a subjunctive here. Paco se iba a enojar aunque lo hubieras llamado a tiempo. Paco was going to get angry, although you may not, or you may have called him on time. So he was going to get angry even if you had called him on time. So the second part is subjective. You may or may not have called him on time. Okay, but he was going to get angry. So this is an expression that triggers subjunctive because it may or may not have happened. Okay, so that's the trigger, is the possibility of it not occurring or maybe occurring. Okay, so most importantly to remember with all this, a lot of this is very directly translatable from English. Okay, so it's important to recognize the triggers versus the non-triggers. So again, going back to the first example, sabía que, she knew that. That's not a trigger, and it's in the past. So everything that you use is going to be in the past. Here, we need habían comprado because it's a statement of fact. And then in the second one, fue impresionante is in the past, and fue impresionante is a trigger. And then I intend to say had bought. Okay, so it's really very directly translatable from English to Spanish. So the more you speak Spanish, and the more you are immersed in the language, the more it is likely that you will be speaking with advanced grammar like this. But again, sometimes native speakers don't use this correctly, and there will be times in the future that you will hear this. Ok, vamos a practicar.